right, we're going to be reviewing for your test in just a few minutes, but first we're going to get started with another speed drill. Open up your speed drill booklets to page 5, and we're going to be working on speed test 11 today. You're going to have 4 minutes for this speed drill. Make sure water bottles are on the floor. All right, speed test 11. Kind of a miscellaneous assortment of problems, right? You add, subtract, multiply, divide. Work in whatever order you feel is best. I feel like the last problem's really easy, so get that out of the way. Anyway, you're going to have 4 minutes, and you may begin. Bless you. Stop. All right, pencils off your desks. Pencils off your desks. And get a pen out. Pencils off your desk, pens out, and exchange with the person behind you. Person to the back of the row, bring it to the front of the row. Person to the back of the row, bring it to the front of the row. And sign your name as greater next to where it says speed test 12. Sign your name as greater next to where it says speed test 12. They're at the bottom of speed test 11. All right, let's take a look at these together. Read each answer twice as we go across the top row. The first answer is 2,514. 2,514. For the next one, 1,238. 1,238. For the next one, 3,485. 3,485. For number 4, it's 224. 224, using 4 as that estimator. And then for number 5, 22,500. 22,500. For number 6, 105,336. We're going to double shift that second partial product rather than multiplying a row of zeros, though you could technically do that. Again, 105,336. Number 7 is 17,984. 17,984. Number 8 actually worked out pretty nicely. Just think quarters, and it gets you there pretty quickly. Just don't forget the zeros at the end. 1,600. 1,600. And then I think the easiest problems on the quiz were 9 and 10, so hopefully you did those first. 1,521. 1,521. And number 10 was 67. 67. All right, there are 10 points each. Yes, ma'am.
What did you say number 6 was?
I'm sorry, one more time. Number 6 again was 105,336. All right, 10 points each. Figure the score, put it in the score blank. Also, put it on the speed drill score page. We're getting close to the end of the quarter here. Put it in place for speed drill 11. We only have 3 more this quarter. And then those 14 speed drills will all get averaged together for 1 quiz grade. So, completing all of those, put the score on the score blank for speed drill 11 and take it back to the back. If you're at the front, pass it forward to the owner. Oh, don't be lazy, Kirsten. You can pick up and walk it back. Oh, you know what? You're so used to Griffin being out sick. You didn't know what to do. You're just returning back to stand. You actually get to stand and walk it back to Griffin. Griffin, good to have you back with us again. Not dead anymore. All right, owners, take a look at your scores. Were there any hundreds today? Any hundreds? How about 90s? Just missed 1. 80s? Just missed 2. All right, any questions? Pass them forward, putting yours on top. So pass them forward. Putting yours on. So see, Sam's not used to Griffin being here either. You start to hand it. It's like, oh, that's right, I got to get Griffin's. All right, pass them forward. Putting yours on top. Take your textbooks out. Open to page 78. Quietly. Textbooks out. Open to page 78. And yesterday, at the end of the hour, you worked on numbers 12 through 15. They're at the top of the page. Some of you finished. Some of you just had a little bit further to go. And we're going to take a look at that in just a moment. For now, though, put your pencil in your book. Close your book. So find page 78, put your pencil in your book, close your book. And we're going to just review very quickly. Now, if there's time at the end of the hour, we'll actually play a review game. But for now, I just want to make sure we're as efficient as we can be. So we're going to go through. I'm going to start you, though, by you telling me what is the fraction that goes with the decimal. Class?
1/2.
0.5 is 1/2. 1/4. 0.25, 1/4. 3/4, remember, is 75 cents. 1/5. So remember, a decimal, 0.2, is technically 2/10, right? Place value, but we reduce it to 1/5. So if we see something like 0.4,
2/5.
that's half as much, 2/5.
3/5.
3/5, of course.
4/5.
4/5. All right, then we get into the fun ones.
1/8.
When you see those 3 decimal places, remember it starts with a 1, it's the 1/8.
3/8.
3/8, and here's the fun one.
6/5.
5/8. It leads with the 6, but it's because of the round up type thing. Here we've got 7/8, of course.
1/3.
1/3. Now, if it just said 0.3, that's 3/10. If it's 0.3 repeating, that's 3/9 or 1/3.
6/9.
6/9, which reduces to 2/3. There we go, 2/3.
1/6.
1/6.
5/6.
5/6. Then here we have
4/9.
4/9. All right, now we'll go the other direction. What's the decimal? 0.5. 0.75. 0.2. What's the next fraction? 4/5, which equals 0.8. 0.125. Then remember 38. 0.375. 0.6, bump it up, and then a 25 again, and then 5 0.875. Again, bump it up, and then end with the 75. 0.3 repeating. 0.6 repeating. 0.16 for just the 6 repeats. Remember, not the 1. 0.83 repeating, and anything over 9 is itself repeating, so 0.4 repeating. Again, we'll drill those if we have time at the end of the hour. For now, you're on page 78, and what I want you to do, though, you've got your pencil in your book already, I want you to exchange books to the person behind you. Person in the back, bring your book to the front. Exchange books with the person behind you. Person in the back, bring your book to the front. So take your book to the person behind you, hand your book to the person behind you. Person in the back, bring your book on up to the front. And if you would, get out a pen. They may still have their pencil in the book, but I want you, it's okay, you're fine. But how about a pen, and we're going to check the answers and see how they did. Just put your book on. Actually, you know what? Sam, hand your book to her. And Griffin, just kind of follow along. Yeah, there's no sense Griffin grading someone else's book. All right, so Sam, do you have Kirsten's book? And yes or no? Yes. Griffin, you have your own book. Kirsten, you have Sam's book. Excellent. All right, check the answers here. For number 12, we're at the top of page 78. 12A, 40% of 55. Multiply by 0.4, you get 22.0 or just 22. Either answer is fine for 12A. 12B, multiply by 0.03 or knock off a decimal place and knock off a 0. 13 times 0.3 is 3.9. 3.9 or 3.90. Either answer is correct. Letter C, I would multiply by 1.7 to get 71.4. If you multiply by 1.70, you might have 71.40. And for letter D, 0.5%. Well, class, what is 1/2 as a decimal? 0.5. But then we have to do what to get the percent sign off? Class? Boing gives us 0.005. So we're looking at 3 decimal places here. Now, we could knock off one of those with the 0. You end up with 62.1 or 62.10 or 62.100, whatever. Any of those would be correct for letter D. Number 13 wanted to write 15% as a reduced fraction. Again, percent means what, class? 100. So put 15 over 100 and reduce, you get 3/20. 3/20. For number 14, finding the GCF of 28 and 30, the only prime factor they share is a 2, so the GCF is 2 for 14A. For 14B, the LCM, you're taking all the winners and you wind up with 420. 420 is that LCM. Number 15, A and B, just solving with order of operations. Remember parentheses if there were any, there really weren't. Exponents, there was something in letter A. Then you multiply, divide, and then finally end with your addition and subtraction. 15A should be 29. 29 for their answer. And 15B is 59. 59. All right, here's the question before you hand papers back. Or books back. Did anyone, the one that you are grading was perfect? Anyone say the one I am grading was perfect? Oh, so no candy. Okay. Anyone the one you're grading just missed 1? Anyone the one you're grading just missed 1? All right, pass the books back. So people at the back, take them to the front. Or take people at the front, take them to the back. Pass the books forward. And, oh my, Corey, your book is falling apart, sir.
Yeah.
Or rather. So make sure we're careful as we put books in lockers so they don't utterly disintegrate. All right, let's go over some questions now. Once everybody's got their own books back. What? Shh.
What did you say 12B was?
I'm sorry?
What did you say 12B was?
12B was 3.9.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so now that you've gotten these checked and back, almost back, Luciana's about to get hers back. All right, questions on, let's start with 12A through D. Does anyone need to see 12A through D? Any of those worked? We talked through them. Any questions? I assume we're good on 13. How about 14, the GCF or LCM? Anyone need to see GCF or LCM? How many need to see 15, the order of operations? Luciana, A and B or just one of them?
A.
Just A? All right. Anyone need to see 15B? All right, let's is that a hint? Okay, let's take a look at both 15A and 15B. It's been a little while since we've done this. So we've got, what does it mean when the 3's up against the 10 class? Multiply. Minus 2 squared divided by 4. The first thing, though, we should do, if we had parentheses, it's going to be the 2 squared right here. What is 2 squared, Luciana? 4. So I'm going to replace the 2 squared with a 4. Now, here's the key. The multiplication and division can happen at the same time, just don't touch that subtraction. So the 3 times 10 class, 30, and then the 4 divided by 4 class, and then take care of the subtraction, and that's where we get 29. And then for letter B, we had the 8 plus 4, again, times the 11, plus 21 divided by the 3. What 2 things can we do first, Paige?
Division.
And? Let's do that. So don't touch the 8, don't touch the plus, don't touch this plus. What's 4 times 11?
44.
And 21 divided by 3?
7.
And now we just go in order. 8 plus 44 is 52, plus 7 is 59. Does that make sense? All right, any other questions on that review section? Any other questions on the review page? Or, she's page. Jalen, keep doing that. I just got the j sound. Anyway, Jalen.
D. No.
12D? 12D? Yeah, so I showed a moment ago the 0.5%. Did you change a 0.5% to 0.005? Okay, that's the problem, right? We've got to make it a 0.005, and then we can multiply by 1242, and there was a 0. I would let this 0 just kind of lapse, and I take off one of my decimal places, so I'm multiplying by 0.05, and then, of course, it's just a matter of multiplying 2 decimal places, 62.1. We don't have to include that 0 with the insert. Any other questions from that review section that we did yesterday at the end of the hour? All right, let's quickly preview what's going to be on the test tomorrow. Flip back in your textbooks to page 41. Flip back in your textbooks to page 41. Corey, I'm not sure if the pages are in order and you can find them at this point. I'm sorry. Yeah, page 41's still in there. That's happy. Fractions. This is where the test material starts. We start with the fractions. So, different types of fractions. Make sure you know proper, improper, mixed number. Make sure you know how, next page, to change from the mixed or improper fraction to a mixed or whole number. Make sure you know how to change from a mixed number to an improper fraction. Make sure you know how to make equivalent fractions. Make sure you know how to reduce fractions. Flip the page a couple times. Make sure page 46 is where we're at now. You know how to add or subtract fractions, class. You have to have a common denominator. Make sure we're good with borrowing potentially from a whole number. We're going to practice that in just a minute. But get that common denominator. Multiplying fractions, page 48. Remember how to cancel stuff. Make sure we're good with that. Dividing fractions. We don't really divide, class. We multiply by the reciprocal. So flip the one after the division sign. Turn the page, page 50. Complex fractions. They're fractions with fractions in them. But all a complex fraction is a division problem. That's what the fraction bar means. And we don't really divide, we multiply by the reciprocal. So you can kind of see that there on page 50. Turn the page a couple times. Till you get to page 55, we talk about repeating decimals and terminating decimals and fraction decimal equivalents on page 56. A couple of terms you see at the top of page 56, by the way. Rational numbers is a term for decimals that end or repeat. Irrational refers to decimals that never end or repeat. You're going to look more at that next year in 8th grade. Fraction decimal equivalents, bottom of page 56. If you're not strong, get strong by tomorrow. Page 59, ratios, antecedent and consequent, right? 3 ways to write it. What's the point of a ratio, class? To compare 2 things to each other. We practiced a lot with different ratios. Remember, the key is make sure you know what it's asking. Don't just throw the 2 numbers they gave you back. And always make a ratio have the smallest numbers possible. Class, what's that called? Reduce. Always reduce the ratio. Turn the page. Several pages. Till you get to page 66. Percents. Percent means hundredths. We reviewed that already. And it talks about changing percents to fractions, percents to decimals. Page 67, decimals to percents. Page 69, fractions to percents. Page 70, fractional percents. Remember, change the fraction to the decimal and then boink boink. Turn the page 72, percentage. This was the last thing we talked about, was finding percentage, a part of a whole. And we said, remember, tips work off percentages, taxes work off percentages, commission would work off percentages, all those different things. There are on page 74 some percent to fraction equivalents, but the only ones that really, really matter, yes, the other ones can help you get some shortcuts, but that last column of table A on page 74, if there's a repeating decimal, you've got to change it to a fraction and work that way. All right, that's your test in a nutshell. So let's do a little bit of review here. Flip back, if you would, to page 64 now. Flip back to page 64, and I want you to do 60 to 65. Page 64, do 60 to 65. Let's get a little more practice with fractions. I felt like we did really well on the quizzes involving fractions. We had a couple of them. Let's just make sure we're keeping those skills sharp. Pages 60 to 65, or page 64 to 60 to 65. Try to ignore it and just get your work done. Sure it was nice while it lasted. I know, rough life. Too noisy out there. If you're watching on YouTube, we're in Georgia. The weather doesn't get nice very often, and it's nice weather today, so I had the windows open. And they're working on a construction site down the road from us, so yeah. Anyway, kind of across the street down the road, yeah. All right, take just another minute or so to be finishing up. A few people already finished. Exactly, yeah, just right. And there's a little canceling you can do here as well. All right, for sake of time, pencils down. Even if you're not finished with all of these, let's see how we did. Number 60, we ain't got a common denominator right now. What would the common denominator need to be, Kirsten?
25.
25. So the 13/25ths we're cool with. And by the way, you could write it horizontally, or if you're just like, that just looks weird to do it that way, it needs to be vertical. You could write it vertically, it's fine. But if I give the 4/5 a denominator of 25, what does the numerator have to become?
20.
20. How many change the 4/5 to 20/25? Then we add it together, and initially, what did we wind up with here, Kirsten?
33 over 25.
33/25, but we can't keep that. What does it change to for our final answer? You did leave it that way. Oh, what should we change it to, Bryson? 1 and 8/25. So make sure we see 25 goes in ones with 8 left, so 1 and 8/25. Number 61, we had a 5 and 3/28 minus a 3 and 9/14. What is that common denominator we should use here, Paige?
28.
28. How many change the 9/14 into a certain number of 28? You saw that common denominator. Good. Now, how many 28s does the 9/14 become, Paige?
18.
18/28. But class, can I subtract 3/28 minus 18/28?
No.
Be careful. Don't fall into the trap of saying, oh, it must be 15/28. No! You've got to borrow from the 5 class, make it up. And the one that you borrow becomes what?
28 and 28.
28/28. Now, I've already got 3/28s, and I'm putting 28/28s with it. So really, how many 28s do I have up here? Back to page?
31.
31/28. Now we can do our subtraction. And what do we get for our answer, Page?
1 and 13/28.
How many have that same answer? 1 and 13/28. Questions on it, adding or subtracting fractions. You're going to have some of this on the test tomorrow. Any questions? Let's take a look at multiplying then. But do we ever multiply mixed numbers, class? No. So, Michael, that 5 and 5/7 has got to change.
40 over 7.
Yeah, good, 40 over 7, 47s. And then we can multiply it by 3/10, but I don't want to multiply big numbers like this. No, I want to cancel a little bit, Ben.
10 and 40,
To get?
4 and 1,
And when we multiply across the top and then across the bottom, what do we initially end up
12
with?
over 7.
But we don't leave 12 sevens. No, no, no. We change it to what final answer?
1 and 5, 7.
1 and 5/7. So we have that for number 62. Number 63, it says divide. We don't do that, Sam. How do we rewrite 63?
We keep the first fraction thing, change the division symbol to times, then flip the other fraction.
To become?
9 over 13.
By the way, do you see that they were awfully nice and they started you with the improper fractions instead of the mixed numbers? Yeah, it wasn't that nice of them. And then we can cancel some stuff, right? Class 3 and 9 cancel to give us 3 and 1. Now, what cancels out of that 28 and 42? Jalen? 7. If I take a 7 out of a 28, I get?
4.
And a 7 out of a 42, I get? 6. But I'm not done canceling, class. There is still more that can cancel. What still cancels? Elaine?
2.
Out of the 4 and 6 to get?
2 and 3.
And there's still more that can cancel, Corey, as you sit up nice and tall.
3 and 3.
The 3s can even cancel with each other. So, what am I technically left with, class? 2. That's my answer. How many got 2? 4 number 63. Questions on that one? Let's look at the next one. It said 49/9 divided by 7, but now we don't do that, Griffin. How do I rewrite 64?
You are in it. 4 ninths,
49/9.
49 ninths, times 1 second.
There we go. We can do a little bit of canceling, class. The 49 and 7 to get.
7 and 1.
And then the answer is really straightforward, Griffin.
7 over 9.
7/9. There we go. Which, by the way, would be what decimal, class? 0.7 repeating. And then number 65, it's a great big complex fraction, but what does the fraction bar mean, class? But do we divide? We multiply by the
Reciprocal.
How do we rewrite 65, Luciana? Well, keep the 5/16ths, right? And then multiply by, you're right, the 26/3. So we do put 26/3, but multiply that by the 5/16ths. Just a little canceling this time, not much at all. What can come out of the 16 and 26 class? A 2. Did you get what, Luciana? Yeah, it's not a whole lot of canceling here. We multiply across. What do we get? It's kind of ugly. Over 24. And then as a mixed number, what does that answer wind up being? Anyone? How many times 24 go into 65, class?
2 and 17.
Okay, there we go. 2 and 17, 24. So now I'm getting some answers. 2 and 17, 24. So again, if you're not sure, put the top number in the house, put the bottom number outside, and do your basic division. And just remember the remainder goes over the divisor. 2 and 17, 24. How many perfect on all the ones you did? Any questions? You're going to have a whole page of fraction problems on the test tomorrow. Are there any questions? Are we going to feel good about that first page? Good. Turn over to page 78. Flip over to page 78 now. And at the bottom of the page, the chapter 2 review A, I want you to read numbers 1 through 17. Obviously, that's going to carry to the next page. So pages 78 to 79 to numbers 1 through 17. 1 through 17 in that chapter review section. Yes, ma'am. Go get it. Just keep it for now. Just keep working. And we don't have a lot of time, so we want to use our time wisely. Now 1 through 17. Answer these questions. Yeah, right. Answers. Let's start with number 1. just another minute or so to work on these. Let's take a look at these together. Number one, what does percent mean, class?
Hundred.
Hundreds. When writing a percent as a decimal, think D2P. When writing the percent as the decimal, class, which direction does the decimal point move?
Left.
To the left. Good. When must a fractional percent be changed to before it can be changed to a decimal? A decimal percent. You take a fraction percent, make it a decimal percent, and then make it a decimal. Kind of a tricky question there. Number four, what is the name for the portion of a number found by multiplying the percent and the base? It's not a term I emphasized. I said tips are these, commissions this, taxes are this. It's a percentage.
Oh.
Percentage, right? It's the portion of a number found by multiplying percent and base, percentage. We're going to emphasize that term more after the test. And then number five, what fraction is equivalent to 66 2/3%? Class? 2/3. It is 66.6 repeating percent, which boink boink is 0.6 repeating, right? Because it's all sixes. But what is that as a fraction? 2/3. 2/3. All right, number six. What is that fraction then? Number six. What was your answer?
3 over 100.
Well, it should be 36 over 100, but we can reduce that down, Michael. 9/25. How about number seven, Elaine?
1/320th.
Good. 115 over 100, that becomes 1 3/20, or 23/20. You could leave that also. What about 7%? Kirsten?
I didn't do it. I skipped it.
7%?
7%.
What does percent mean?
Wrong one. 7
Over?
over 100.
7 over 100. There we go. Easy. All right. Let's see. These are easy ones. Number 9. What is that percent as a decimal, Sam?
0.00012.
Oh, how many places do we move the decimal? Only 2. Now, I know that they put the 0 first, but boink, boink. There's only one extra 0 here, right? And then there's 0, and then the 1, 2.0012. Only boink twice. Let's see, number 10, Griffin.
0.72.
0.72. Number 11, Jalen.
6.003.
Excellent, 6.003. Number 12, writing that decimal as a percent, Luciana.
54.84%.
Percent, there we go. Don't forget the percent sign, 54.84%. How about number 13, Bryson? 150%. Number 14, Paige.
24.7%.
24.7%. Number 15. This is kind of an ugly one, Corey.
0.097%.
0.097%. It don't look pretty, but that's right. Number 16, Ben.
4,130%.
4,130%. And number 17, Kirsten?
8.7%.
8.7%. Anyone perfect on all of those? You got them all? Any questions on any of those? Yes, ma'am.
Number 7.
Number 7, the 115%. So first of all, remember, just percent means hundredths. So if you're making a fraction, you just put it over 100. And then you see that you could divide each of these by 5 if you wanted to. Or, I think this is easy math, 100 goes into 115 once with 15 left. So that might be even easier. And then dividing by 5 isn't too bad. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And if you think $100 is 5 $20 bills, 100 divided by 5 is 20. and there's our 1 and 3/20. If you just divide it by 5 like this, you get 23/20, and I would take that because the book was allowing that answer for quite a while. Good. Any other questions on these? Griffin, any questions? I know you were out for a little bit. Any questions? I think you're here for most of this, though. All right, numbers 18 through 23 at your seats. Changing fractions to percents. Again, fraction to decimal, then boink boink to get your percent. 18 to 23. Yes, ma'am.
Do we round?
It doesn't say to round, does it? Oh, it does. It says round answers to the nearest tenth if necessary. That turns tenth of a percent if necessary. So yes, you can round. Finished? People already finished. Take just a little longer. All right, let's take a look at these now. Number 18, 1/4 as a decimal 0.25, so as a percent, Michael.
0.25%.
No, it is as a decimal, it is 0.25. So if you boink boink, what is it as a percent?
Wait, 0.025%.
Okay, we're going from a decimal to a percent. So remember, we're going to boink 2 places that way. We're just going to get
Oh, 25.
25%. There we go. Number 19, 3/8 as a decimal 0.375. So what is that as a percent, Elaine?
37.5%.
37.5%. Now, 2/9 class as a decimal, what is that? 0.2 repeating, 0.22222 forever, right? If you go boink, boink, that's going to give me 22, and it's going to be point a bunch of repeating 2s. If you wrote this, that's not wrong. If you said I'm going to round and the next 2 doesn't bump that 2 up and you said 22.2%, that's fine. And if you're really, really good, you recognize that that's another 2/9 and 22 and 2/9%. I would take any of those answers. How many had one of those for the 2/9? Questions? All right, look at the next one. 2/5, of course, is 0.4. Boink, boink gives us what page?
40%.
5/6 is what decimal class?
0.83.
0.83 repeating. So that's 0.83333 blah, blah, blah. Well, when you boink, boink, that's going to give you 83.3 repeating percent, or the next 3 doesn't round that up. So if you rounded 83.3%, or if like, well, 0.3 repeating is a third, 83 and a third percent. I'd take any one of those answers. How many had one of those for 5/6, number 22? And number 23, we had to divide it out, didn't we? And we get 0.636363, and you realize pretty quickly that's going to happen, right, after just a couple divisions. So if we boink, boink, class, it gives us 63.6%, or, yeah, 63.63 repeating percent. Or if you wanted to, you're like, well, I know 7/11 is 0.63 repeating. You could even do this. I don't know that most of us would have. But any of those answers is correct. How many have one of those for number 23? Questions on fractions to percents? Michael?
I have a question. For 19,
37.5% or 37.5%?
yeah.
I would take either answer. Yep, good question. Good. Any others? All right, dropping down to number 24 through 29. Now changing these fractional percents first to decimal percents, then to decimals. 24 to 29. 24 to 29. Most of you are finished. Pencils down. Even if you're not finished, check your answers to the ones you got done. Number 24.0025, number 25.05875, number 26.0012, number 27, 4.522, number 28 is 0.756, number 29 is 0.00003. How many got all the ones you did correct in this section? Again, I wanted to make sure I actually showed each of these. Again, in each case, change the fraction to the decimal, and then to lose the percent sign, make sure you boink, boink, D2P going to the left. We do not have time to go over 30 through 35, but keep your books open. I want to give you the answers in case you want to practice. There's no homework tonight, Benjamin. There's no homework this evening, but I would encourage you to work 30 through 35. I'm going to give you the answers now so you can check your own answers in a little bit. Remember, of course, class, of means what? And you have to change the percent to a decimal. So when you change the decimal, or the percent to the decimal, and then multiply by 55, number 30, your answer is 33. Write that in. Number 31 is 28. Number 32 is 3.28. Number 33, 114.3. Number 34 is 91.2. And number 35 is 87.65. Put a star next to that one, 87.65. That's perhaps the most important one to practice because that'll really let you know if you know what you're doing. All right, no homework. Test tomorrow in our next lesson. Have a wonderful rest of your day.